Antonio Brown? Which way you leaning?
Let's go with the Italian, Antonio.
Okay.
Let's go with him.
So it's Antonio Brown. The Steelers attempted to trade him to the Buffalo Bills, and he said no chance he was going to Buffalo. So the Bills have reportedly given up. Frank, what do you think of Brown flexing like this to avoid a team he just didn't want to play for?
I love Antonio Brown. I want out of Pittsburgh. Okay, we're going to trade you to Buffalo. I didn't say I wanted to go there. Because you know what he's thinking about? I want to go to a good
San
city.
Francisco.
I want a good quarterback.
Yeah.
And I want money. That's the big part of it. This is what it's all about. March 17th, he's got a $2 million roster bonus coming to him, so he's got to be traded by then. But I'll tell you what, he wants to kind of, position himself to what team he wants to go to. I don't know how many teams are out there. He's a tremendous player, no question about it. But how many teams are going to be willing to pay a 31-year-old wide receiver who's looking for big bucks?
Well, Frank, in this sport, not that many. And I mention this all the time to Tony, and I bet you agree with this. Football players and baseball players, but more football players because their contracts aren't guaranteed. They are so jealous of their basketball brethren. And they look at what's going on in basketball, and guys are just creating the destinations wherever they want to go, grouping players, super teams. And he can't believe that he can't do this too.
You know what? I was watching your favorite show the other day, The Shop, the LeBron James show. So it's LeBron, Anthony Davis, loaded. Jamie Foxx is on it. Your guy, 2 Chainz and Meek Mill, my guy.
Yeah.
All of them are loaded. And here's Antonio Brown thinking, hang on a second. I'm arguably the best receiver in the league. These guys are making crazy money. I'm making like mid-level exception money in the NBA, middle reliever money in Major League Baseball. I got to start getting paid. But let me ask you this. Do you think he's helping himself with kind of this media tour that he's been on?
No, but you can't help yourself in the NFL with that at all. I mean, unless you are the best quarterback, or you're a quarterback and you're desired in a situation where there are 32 of these things and there's only 15 great ones or good ones. But in his case, Frank, teams will just ignore him. They will just say, we don't want to be bothered with the hassle of you. He doesn't get that. Now, I think somebody will sign him. I think they will. But Des Bryant wasn't Antonio Brown last year. Des Bryant just sat around
and I don't think he's going to be happy, because if I'm Antonio Brown, I'm thinking, I want to go to a great organization with a very good, accomplished quarterback. Guess where that is? Pittsburgh, with a great coach.
He won't be there.
And he wants out.
How about that?
Because it's all about money. All right, as we wait to see what happens with Antonio Brown, we do have 3 trades to announce. With Alex Smith's status for next season uncertain, Washington has agreed to trade to acquire quarterback Case Keenum from Denver. The Patriots have acquired Michael Bennett from the Eagles, and the Giants have traded Olivia Vernon, that's their linebacker, to the Browns in exchange for right guard Kevin Zeitler. All right, Michael, which one of these trades will have the biggest impact?
Michael Bennett. I mean, just somehow, whatever the Patriots decide to do, if they decide to bring somebody in who's had, sort of a year and a half of being disgruntled or whatever time period it's been. You go to the Patriots, he's going to want to go to the Patriots. It won't even last long, but it could wind up with another Super Bowl ring for Michael Bennett. Now, I know most people would say, wait a minute, how can you live in Washington and say it's not going to be Case Keenum? Because Case Keenum is, 25 and 27 career mark, something like that.
He did go to the NFC Championship game.
He did, like 11-3 or something like that when he was in there for Minnesota.
Yeah.
But it's the Redskins, Frank. The Redskins don't know what to do with
anybody. Yeah, but he's better than what they have in Colt McCoy, though, don't you think?
Maybe. They're comparable, but it doesn't matter. If you could play both of them at the same time, it wouldn't matter. It's the Redskins. They've been dysfunctional and just worthless for more than a decade, with it like 1 year exception. They pop up, they get to the playoffs, and they sink back into a hole. So I'm going to say Michael Bennett.
Now, Michael Bennett last season for Philadelphia, he 10 starts, 16 games, had 9 sacks.
Yeah.
Somehow it's going to work out because it's New England. And now there's already talk out there that his brother Martellus will join it.
Back in.
Right, as a tight end.
We better check and see if Belichick wants that.
But hang on, it actually might work just because we don't know about Gronk's status. What's funny about Bennett now with New England, and it's already coming out, is Greg Schiano is a defensive coordinator. They were together for a minute
in
Tampa, and this is what Bennett said about him. At one point, he said he has small man syndrome, and he's trying to be Belichick. However, that is as a head coach. As a defensive coordinator, it could be a little bit different.
You would hope. But not even you think it's going to be Case Keenum.
But you know what I love about John Elway, though? Always going through quarterbacks. Now that Joe Flacco is here, that's why Case Keenum will be out. Sure. It's like John Elway is waiting to try to find John Elway.
Ain't happening. Because that guy, John Elway, before Tom Brady solidified himself as the greatest quarterback of all time, to me, it was John Elway. And no, you can't.
Not Trevor Siemian, your guy?
I like Trevor Siemian.
From Northwestern?
Trevor Siemian now. We've had a little while now to digest the news that the Lakers plan to manage LeBron's minutes the rest of the way. This is an admission that the season is over after losing 5 straight and 8 of 10. Luke Walton said the franchise wants to avoid any overusage of the King in the remaining 17 games. Reports are the Lakers would like to cap LeBron at 32 minutes per. Frank, is LeBron even going to pay the slightest attention whatsoever to this?
Well, Dave McMenamin wrote that LeBron will have the leeway to play longer.
The leeway.
Should he choose. Here,
you think this is different?
Here's groundbreaking news right now. LeBron gets to decide what he wants to do. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. Listen, if I'm a fan of the NBA,
I want to see
LeBron out there all the time.
Yeah.
If I'm the Lakers and this season is over, I'm thinking, I need LeBron healthy. He played in 82 games last season. This summer is as big of a summer as Magic Johnson and the Lakers have had in 20 years. We have to be able to sign one of these big guys, Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie, Kevin Durant, Jimmy Butler, somebody. If, God forbid, something were to happen to LeBron, where it would knock him out, forget about even the whole season, half the season.
But nothing's ever happened to him. He's indestructible.
He got hurt he was out for 18 games with a groin injury.
Okay, he probably could have come back after 12 if he wanted to push it. But we're talking about a whole summer. Well, I mean, I think this is sort of unnecessary. First of all, I agree with everything you said. You don't want to have anything happen to LeBron James. But you're looking at the great players over the last X number of years, and I understand you are more susceptible to those kinds of injuries as you get older. We saw Michael Jordan in that first Wizards year, and I guess he must have been 39, missed some games. Yeah. We saw Kobe at the end miss some games. LeBron's not at the end.
But
he might not be indestructible anymore, Frank, but he's not at the end.
Here's the thing about LeBron. 46,000 minutes. As Tony Kornheiser would say, your boy, Michael Jordan, 41,000.
Yeah, he played
playoff games, 239 for LeBron, 179
He's passed
for Michael Jordan.
He's passed them all.
And that's the thing. He has a lot of miles on those legs right now.
That's
got to be a
not
concern.
College mileage.
But how about this, though? The idea of limiting his minutes, I think, is better than him missing games. Now, there's going to be some back-to-backs. They have a game late in the season where they play the Clippers on a Tuesday night. Wednesday night, they're in Utah. What are the odds of him getting on that team playing? To go to Utah.
Won't go to Utah.
I think there'll be some I think they have 3 or 4 back-to-backs. I'm not so sure he's going to play.
I can see back-to-backs. I can see not doing those, but,
It's amazing how quickly things have changed for the Lakers.
Dramatically.
All right, LSU has suspended basketball coach Will Wade indefinitely, a day after a damning Yahoo report that FBI wiretaps have Wade allegedly discussing an offer to a recruit. Wade allegedly said he made, quote, a strong offer to current LSU freshman Javonte Smart in 2017. Wade also said, quote, I know why he didn't take it now. It was tilted toward taking care of the mom, not his mother, but the mom. 10th ranked LSU, Mike, they're 24-5. Is this the right call by the school? And what are the short and long-term ramifications of this move?
I think it's a pretty smart call by the school. I mean, you're sitting there, you're waiting. Do we report ourselves now? Do we take ourselves out of it? No, you're 24-5 or whatever that record was. We got a chance here. We're in the mix with Kentucky and Tennessee, and we could win this conference and who knows, be a second seed, maybe LSU. So you take your chance now. And if they wipe it off the books, nobody even remembers that. They remember you got to the Final Four, or the final game, or you won, whatever. Short-term ramifications, I guess short and long-term, you lose your coach. He's got to go away if this stuff is true. And I think that's probably, I don't think we're talking death penalty. I think we're talking some sort of probation. Yeah. But I think we're talking for the coach short-term issues.
They made the Final Four in 2006. That was with Big Baby and Tyrus Thomas. Remember him?
Yes,
from the Chicago Bull days. I think they're smart to get in front of the story. And because the last thing you want is for the NCAA to say, you know what, they're ineligible for the rest of the season. You guys,
that's right.
You cannot go to the NCAA tournament because there's money involved. Plus, you're going to hurt the players. But let me ask you,
want to stall for this. You want to stall this off as long as you can.
But what about Javonte Smart? He's on the team. He was mentioned in the FBI wiretap.
What they're saying is they still need him, though, Frank, to realize the heights we're talking about in March Madness. So you take your chances. And again, if you are told to vacate later, do we remember, you and I are sports writers our whole lives, do we remember the schools that were told to vacate? Do you? I don't.
UMass the Final Four.
See, I'd forgotten.
Memphis making it to the national championship.
Would you rather have Canby and that whole group and done what you did anyway?
Well,
Yes, you would.
well, what about when Michigan lost? Asking Tim Hardaway and Trey Burke about it, they were like, "No, we lost the national championship game. We don't want like the banner. We didn't win the game on the court, so we're okay that it's it's not helping us out that anything
That's
was
a nice
vacated."
gesture of largesse. I'm trying to win as many games as I
You're
could
right.
if I'm LSU. Frank, have you seen all these crazy rules the independent Atlantic League plans to implement under the watchful eye of Major League Baseball? Okay, here's the run-through. Using a computer to call balls and strikes, sort of like tennis.
Don't like it.
Banning defensive shifts. A 3-batter minimum for all relief pitchers. No mound visits unless you plan to change the pitcher. Making the bases larger, like Little League, so you don't spike people. And the big one, moving the rubber back 2 feet to 62 feet 6 inches. Frank, tell me, you hate most, if not all of these.
You know what? Some of them I like. I think the two big controversial ones will be no home plate umpire. How's the umpires union going to?
Well, you got to have a guy there. You got to call out.
I don't like that.
You don't?
No.
You like it in tennis?
Each umpire.
What is it, Quest Tech or something? What's that thing called?
Each umpire, just like NBA referees, they have like their own way of officiating games.
I don't want that.
No, that's fine. I'm not changing that.
You're
That's
okay
the way
with that?
baseball has been played. I do like the idea of the defensive shift. You can only have 2 guys on one side of second base, making the bases bigger. I'm fine. But what about 62 feet 6 inches?
Awful.
Moving.
That's awful. That's
moving the rubber
lazy
back.
on the part of baseball.
But what about evolution? Players now they throw harder than ever before.
They also throw their arms out. Everybody's got Tommy John now. A third of the pitchers have Tommy John, it seems, in Major League Baseball and coming out of the minors. So you want to make them throw further? For what? So you can have more balls put in play? You know you have put more balls in play? Fire every moron that mentions the word launch angle. Because that guy is suggesting they swing for the fences
every time
instead of put the ball in play.
But
These are major leaguers. Put the damn ball in play.
The sport has become strikeouts and home runs. Everyone is swinging
for their own fault. But wait a minute. Let's go back over a couple of these. The mound visits. Come on. You should be able to go out there and calm a pitcher down. In the postseason, you don't want to put it back?
That's what makes the game too long.
I
If
agree.
you want to make a pitch
clock.
make it from the dugout.
Put a 12-second pitch clock out there.
The guy that's warming up in the bullpen, when you get to the mound,
No more warm-ups.
2 warm-up pitches.
All right, 2. I'm with that. Wait. You and I are coming to better resolutions here than they have.
That'll make the game move along.
The Atlantic League.
What the producer always does to you, move along.
Some stupid I-95 corridor thing with teams in Maryland,
Long
New
Island
York,
Ducks.
Massachusetts.
Long Island Ducks have a lot of former Mets on
See, I
that
knew
team.
there'd be Kornheiser's official team.
There it is.
You. Let's take a break. We're coming up. It's tonight's game against the Nuggets, an important one for the champions to win.
And is Kyler Murray smart to run the 40 and get measured at his own pro day? How tall is he? Is he 5'6"?
Well, if it's his own pro day, my own pro day, I'm 6'4". Time to fill in some blanks in What's the Word. Let's get the first one from the producer over the loudspeaker.
It will be blank if the Warriors lose to the Nuggets tonight.
All right, big game. Only a game separates those guys at the top of the Western Conference standings, Frank. Klay Thompson will be back. The Warriors have lost 3 of 4 and 5 of 8. To me, if they lose at home again, it's going to be stupefying. Because I know everybody says they can turn it on. They'll turn it on when they need to. Even if it's just one night, they need to tonight to me.
I'm going to say it's alarming for this reason. Their last time they played at home was against Boston. That was the worst loss of the Steve Kerr era. They got run off the court by a team that we all thought was dysfunctional. Great performance by Gordon Hayward and the Celtics that night. Then Steve Kerr comes out yesterday and says, our fans at Oracle Arena, by the way, as you know, the last year that they'll be playing
That's right.
deserve better.
These are the
So
last
it's
few
almost
regular
kind of been
season games.
signaled these games are huge, and they want to be the number 1 seed. And by the way, they're still fighting for the best record in the league.
Great job by Steve Kerr in identifying something legit that he knows his guys will respect and rally around. At least I think so, and I know you do too. What's next?
Russell Westbrook was blank to put a shoulder into Yusuf Nurkic.
Were you watching this last night?
Yes. Fun.
It looks like Nurkic in a really tight, great game last night in Portland. It looks like Nurkic sort of gets his left foot in there and trips up Westbrook. I wasn't certain. Westbrook doesn't even go all the way down. He goes to his hands, gets up, and then throws an old roller derby, Charlie O'Connell, Ronnie Psycho Reigns body block, boom. And people say, Reggie, I think Reggie said, was it Reggie calling this game?
Yeah.
And said he went down. No, he did not flop. I thought he got knocked off balance. But
Reggie knows how to embellish in the flop.
It's typical. This is what Westbrook does.
I'm going to say it's strategic because they reviewed the play, and what happened was Russell Westbrook got the flagrant. Nurkic got the technical. Then with 4 seconds left, he got his second technical out of the game. Did not play in overtime. One thing about Nurkic, so which I like, he's not afraid to go after the NBA players.
Mix it up.
He said of Iman Shumpert, he's about to retire. He said Ben Simmons is the best shooter in the league, and he called Russell Westbrick. So Nurkic isn't afraid to mix it up.
Scared.
Don't mess with guys from Bosnia.
Not scared.
They're not afraid.
What's next?
Tomorrow's game against UNC is blank for Duke.
It's incidental. And we don't even know yet, whether Zion's playing. If Zion doesn't play, and I'm starting to suspect he will play, Coach K says he'll announce it after shoot-around because he wants to see how he's moving and all that and responding. It's incidental because Duke is going to have to win probably the ACC tournament to get a number 1 seed. If they win, I guess they could then avoid it, but I think it's fairly incidental, particularly if Zion doesn't
Carolina
play.
Duke.
You know what? But what does the result matter, Frank?
Well, first of all, it's going to be payback because the game that Zion played, he got hurt. What was it, 36, 38 seconds into the game?
Lost.
We haven't seen him since then. Luke May had the great game, 30 and 15. It's still Duke, North Carolina.
Well, what does the result matter?
Well, it doesn't.
That's good for hype.
It definitely does in terms of seeding, and plus it's the last home game for a lot of these players at North Carolina.
Yeah.
I'm the only knucklehead that drove 7 hours round trip 2 weeks ago to not see Zion Williams play. I should drive down to Chapel Hill tomorrow. Get me a ticket. You know,
doing that. What's next?
Last one. It's blank that Kyler Murray is planning to do everything at his pro day.
Secondary. Because, this makes me mad every year without fail. Where do you do it? Where's the last time we saw Kyler Murray do everything? How about on the damn football field? How about in a game?
Watch the film.
Just look at it. Go to his games. Pay for a ticket. Sit closer. Be live. Don't tell me that his pro day performance is more important than these moves against actual live players, some of who will play on Sunday.
That's why I'm saying
Secondary.
It's guaranteed. Here's my thing about Kyler Murray. Something tells me that a team high in the first round, I would say between picks 1 and 15, has told Kyler Murray, if you are there, we are drafting you. So I don't think he's worried about this. I think teams are just like you. They're going to they have plenty of film to watch him play. Earlier in the week, people were saying he might go number 1 overall. Now all of a sudden he's slipping because a report came out they didn't give a good interview. I've heard you interviewed before. 9 out of 10 interviews are good. That one, could get you in a little bit of trouble.
They're all good. They're all good. Eat your words. Let's take one last break, but still to come. Rasheed Wallace gets an unexpected gig.
Hopefully he's not filling in for me. And Michael Wilbon has some thoughts on Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali.
That's the greatest, maybe the greatest sporting event in the history of America.
How great is Down Goes
Breaking news coverage of LSU's Will Wade, now suspended after being heard on FBI wiretaps. We'll go through the Steelers' timeline to trade Antonio Brown. And Stephen Curry steps up on International Women's Day. Sports Center with Kevin Nagandi right after TTI.
Time to get happy, people. Happy 54th birthday, Kenny Smith. Of course, he's a part of the wildly successful show Inside the NBA with Charles and Ernie and most recently Shaq. And if there's any show that Tony and I are jealous of over the years, it's this one, which has won way more Emmys than we have. And Kenny doesn't get nearly enough praise for a fabulous basketball career that earned him 2 NBA championships with the Houston Rockets.
Played at Malloy High School in Queens. His senior year, Pearl Washington, Mark Jackson.
How about that?
We're also coming out of
They always talk about him going to be a GM, and he could do it. But I like watching Kenny and listening to Kenny and Charles and Shaq and Ernie. I do. Happy anniversary to one of the 10 most important prize fights in the history of fisticuffs. It was Muhammad Ali's long-awaited bout with Joe Frazier in Madison Square Garden. Both men were undefeated and absolutely invincible walking into that ring. I cried myself to sleep that night at 12 years old because Ali lost. And for a generation of us, the first in this great trilogy of fights is when and how we came of age.
How huge was this event? And what was it like back then?
I thought
Think
it was
about
the
that.
biggest event in my life, and I'm not sure it's still not the biggest.
You don't get that anymore from
No, there's nothing like that, Frank. A melancholy trails to Dan Jenkins, who left us last night at 89 years of age. Long before people had hot takes and rants, there were a handful of men like Jenkins, whose literacy and passion for sports, specifically college football and golf, informed and entertained us at the highest level. For sports writers of later generations like Tony and Frank and me, Jenkins was one of our iconic figures for more than a half century. My first thoughts are with his daughter and my dear friend and colleague Sally, who fortunately has his gift for telling a story like very few others.
That's a great tribute, Mike. And you think about Dan Jenkins, that is a legend in this profession.
Absolute legend in our profession, Frank. No errors today. We're running out of show, so we're going to get to the finish. The Miami Dolphins cut Danny Amendola. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, he'll probably end up on the Patriots. All right, Texas quarterback Sam Ehlinger compared playing college football to a full-time unpaid internship. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do. And that's not, the interns don't get hit and bruised like that either. The Boston Bruins have not lost in regulation since January 19. You're impressed?